Alabama Residential Purchase Agreement is an essential document when buying or selling a home in the state. It is a legally binding contract between the buyer and the seller and lists crucial information like the purchase price, down payment, financing, as well as any terms and conditions. In this video, we'll cover how a residential purchase agreement works, legal requirements in Alabama, and what you need to create one. We're eForms, the biggest online database for legal documents. Stick around and we'll tell you where you can find an official residential purchase agreement specific to Alabama. First, let's review how does a residential purchase agreement exactly work. When someone is interested in purchasing a home, they will be responsible for presenting a residential purchase agreement to the seller. It's much like any offer letter stating how much the buyer wants to pay for it, how they will be able to afford it, and what conditions must be met for the agreement to stay valid. The seller, once they've reviewed the agreement, will either sign the document making it legally binding, or they can make a counteroffer. They can even flat out reject it. If it is accepted, the process moves forward, which brings us to the next point. Legal requirements in Alabama. Alabama does not require the seller to disclose any defects on the property, meaning it is the responsibility of the buyer to inspect it for any issues. This is known as buyer's beware or caveat emptor in Latin. However, there are some exceptions. Federal law requires that for any residential buildings built before 1978, the seller must disclose the property's history of lead-based paint exposure. In addition, under the buyer's beware doctrine, the seller is legally required to disclose any issues if it could jeopardize the buyer's health or if the buyer directly asks about the issue. So what do you need in order to create a residential purchase agreement that will help guide the transaction forward smoothly? Include a mortgage pre-approval letter. A mortgage pre-approval letter is a document from the bank estimating how much it is willing to lend to the buyer based on their credit history, income, debts, and assets. This helps the seller determine whether the buyer is financially credible. Offer an earnest money deposit. An earnest money deposit is a percentage of the offer and provided to the seller as a show of good faith. It is written into the residential purchase agreement and typically delivered when the agreement is signed. Use an addendum to modify or add to the agreement. An addendum is often included with a residential purchase agreement to add to or amend any terms and conditions. It can also detail a contingency which allows either party to opt out of the contract if certain terms are not met. If you are in need of an official Alabama purchase agreement, you can get started by clicking the link here. Hit that subscribe button as well for more videos to help you simplify the legal process for everything ranging from buying or selling a house to making a will.